The first blow from the security scanner shattered Sam Ogilvy's expectations of a routine diplomatic assignment. Fragile species warning. Handle with minimal force, flashed in bold amber letters above his biometric data as he entered the Kelvarian embassy on Mars colony. Excuse me? Sam stood straighter, his 6-foot frame suddenly feeling inadequate under the scrutiny of the 8-foot-tall, gray-skinned Kelvarian security officer. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as it adjusted the translator at its throat. No offense intended, human Ogilvy. Standard protocol for Class 3 physiological vulnerability species. Sam pressed his lips together, diplomatic training battling with wounded pride. I'm here to see Ambassador Galactic. I believe I'm expected. Of course. Please follow the illuminated path. Walk slowly to avoid exertion. The patronizing tone in the translated voice couldn't have been clearer if the alien had offered him a walking cane. Sam followed the glowing blue line across the embassy's vast atrium, trying not to notice how the environmental controls had been adjusted to what the Kelvarians must have thought was a comfortable temperature for humans. It was at least 5 degrees too warm. 3 years as Earth's junior diplomatic liaison to the Galactic Collective, and Sam was still being treated like he might break at the slightest touch. It wasn't personal, he reminded himself. Humans were the newest members of the collective, having been discovered only 15 years ago. First contact had gone well enough, no wars, no major cultural catastrophes, but the classification of humans as fragile had stuck from day one. Ambassador Galactic's office was a testament to Kelvarian aesthetic preferences, practical, angular, and dominated by a desk that appeared to be carved from a single piece of metallic stone. The ambassador rose as Sam entered, careful to move slowly, as if afraid sudden movements might startle his human visitor. Junior Liaison Ogilvy, welcome. Galactic's voice resonated deeply through his translator. Please sit. I've had this chair specially reinforced for human anatomy. The chair looked like it had been designed for a child. Sam sat anyway, forcing a diplomatic smile. Thank you for seeing me, Ambassador. I've come regarding the upcoming collective summit on Mars. Ah, yes. We are pleased Earth is hosting its first official collective event, though we did suggest Venus might be more suitable given its gravity and atmospheric pressure. Mars colony is the pride of human space development, Sam replied, keeping his tone neutral. And its environmental domes are calibrated for all collective species. Galactic made a gesture that Sam had learned was the Kelvarian equivalent of sympathetic concern. We simply worry about the strain on your limited physiological capabilities. It took everything in Sam's diplomatic training not to roll his eyes. Ambassador, that's actually what I wanted to discuss. There seems to be a persistent misunderstanding about human physiology in the collective database. Misunderstanding? Our xenobiologists are quite thorough. With respect, they've classified humans as a Class 3 vulnerability species. That puts us in the same category as the crystalline Zendi, who literally shatter if they fall. Galactic's 4 eyes blinked in sequence again, his species' version of raised eyebrows. Humans break easily as well. Your bones fracture under minimal pressure. Your skin tears from the slightest abrasion. You can survive neither vacuum nor high-pressure environments without extensive protection. Most remarkably, you require constant hydration and caloric intake. All true, Sam acknowledged, but those limitations don't define our capabilities. Humans are remarkably adaptable and resilient. Resilient? Galactic made a sound that might have been laughter. Perhaps by your own standards. But compared to Kelvarians, who can survive in vacuum for 30 minutes. Or the Draal, who can regenerate entire limbs. Even the avian Perlians can withstand 4 times your gravitational pressure. Sam leaned forward, forgetting diplomacy for a moment. Ambassador, I believe there's value in the collective understanding humans better. Our differences are our strengths. A lovely sentiment, Galactic said, clearly humoring him. Now, about the security protocols for the summit. The conversation shifted to logistics, but Sam couldn't shake his frustration. As he left the embassy an hour later, the same warning flashed on the security scanner: fragile species departing. Back in his apartment in Mars Colony's diplomatic quarter, Sam threw his credential badge onto the kitchen counter with more force than necessary. His roommate, Dr. Alex Chun, looked up from a holographic display of cellular structures. "Rough day representing humanity?" Alex asked, dismissing the display with a wave. "The Kelvarians still think we're made of glass." Sam dropped into a chair. "I mentioned the Class 3 vulnerability rating again, and Grelvik practically patted me on the head." Alex, the colony's leading xenobiologist, snorted. "You should see the medical protocols they sent over for the summit. They want emergency rapid transport bubbles stationed every 50 meters in case a human needs to be safely evacuated from the proceedings. It's getting ridiculous. How are we supposed to be taken seriously as equals in the collective when they're treating us like we might collapse if someone sneezes too loudly?" "You know what the problem is," Alex said, heading to the refrigerator. "They've never seen humans in our element. Their assessment is all theoretical, based on comparative biology."
He tossed Sam a drink.
"What we need is a demonstration." Sam caught the drink one-handed. "Like what? An arm wrestling contest with a Kelvarian? They can bend steel." "No, but..." Alex paused, his expression turning thoughtful. "Actually, there might be an opportunity. Have you heard about the Festival of Physical Prowess? That competition the Draal host every cycle? What about it? It's happening on Phobos Station next week, right before the summit. All collective species are invited to compete or observe. Most of the ambassadors will be there." Sam took a drink, considering. "The Draal are the ones with 4 arms and scaled skin, right? They're built like tanks. And they love physical competition. Their champion, Krozak, has held the title for 3 collective cycles. No one's been able to defeat him in the arena. What exactly are you suggesting? That I challenge him? He'd snap me in half." Alex grinned. "Not you. But I know someone who might stand a chance." The next morning found Sam and Alex in the Mars Colony training facility, where Earth's military and security personnel kept in shape. In the wrestling area, a woman was systematically taking down opponents twice her size, using leverage and technique rather than brute force. "Sarah Rivers," Alex said as they watched her flip a Marine sergeant over her shoulder. "Former Olympic wrestler, current security chief for the Earth delegation. She's been training in modified gravity environments for 5 years." Sam watched as Sarah helped her opponent up, offering pointers on his stance. She was tall for a woman, maybe 5'10", with a compact, powerful build of a professional athlete. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical braid, and even from a distance, Sam could see the focus in her eyes. "She's impressive," Sam admitted, "but the Draal champion is in a completely different league." "Just talk to her," Alex urged. "What's the worst that could happen? She says yes and gets crushed by an alien 4 times her strength? That would really help our humans aren't fragile campaign." But Alex was already waving Sarah over. She grabbed a towel, wiping sweat from her face as she approached. "Dr. Chun," she nodded, then turned curious eyes to Sam. "And you must be Ogilvy, the diplomat." "That's right. Sorry to interrupt your training." "No problem. What can I do for the diplomatic corps?" "Security concern?" Alex jumped in before Sam could respond. "We have a proposition that might interest you. Are you familiar with the Draal Festival of Physical Prowess?" Sarah's eyes lit up. "The competition on Phobos next week?" "Of course. I was planning to observe. No humans have ever competed. Would you be interested in changing that?" Sam asked, suddenly warming to the idea despite his reservations. "You're serious?" Sarah looked between them. "The collective species don't think we're strong enough to compete. That's why we've never been formally invited." "That's exactly the problem," Sam explained. There's this perception throughout the collective that humans are exceptionally fragile. It's affecting our standing, our negotiations, everything. They've classified us as a Class 3 vulnerability species, Alex added. It's scientifically inaccurate and politically damaging. Sarah wiped her hands on the towel. And you think me getting thrown around by a Draal champion will change that perception? I think showing them what humans are actually capable of might start to change it, Sam said. Even if you don't win, just competing respectably would make a statement. Sarah was quiet for a moment, considering. Then she smiled, a determined glint in her eye. I've studied Draal wrestling techniques. Their strength is impressive, but their center of gravity is different from ours. There are vulnerabilities in their approach. So, you'll do it? Alex asked eagerly. I'll need to see footage of this champion, Krozak. And I'll need authorization from my superiors. She fixed Sam with a pointed look. Which I assume you can help with? Sam nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. I'll take care of the diplomatic side. This could be important for how the collective sees us.
One condition, Sarah said.
If I do this, I compete as a human athlete, not as a political statement. I won't be a propaganda tool. Fair enough, Sam agreed. But if you happen to change a few alien minds about human capabilities in the process. Sarah grinned. That would be a nice bonus. The next week passed in a blur of preparations. Sam secured the necessary authorizations, arguing persuasively that having a human competitor would demonstrate Earth's commitment to full participation in collective culture. Sarah studied every available recording of Draal wrestling, particularly Krozak's matches, developing a strategy that might compensate for his superior strength and extra limbs. The day before the festival, Sam found himself on a transport to Phobos Station alongside Sarah, Alex, and a small contingent of Earth officials who had caught wind of the plan. Nervous? Sam asked as they watched Mars grow smaller through the viewport. Sarah was doing stretching exercises in the limited space of the transport. Focused, she corrected. The Draal technique relies heavily on their lower arms for grappling while the upper arms deliver strikes. If I can neutralize that advantage. You've really studied this. I've been studying alien physiologies and fighting techniques since first contact, she said. Not because I expected to fight them, but because understanding different physical capabilities fascinates me. The Draal might not even accept your challenge, Alex pointed out. No non-Draal has won a match against their champions in recorded history. They'll accept, Sam said confidently. I spoke with the Draal ambassador yesterday. He found the idea of a human challenger amusing. Sarah's expression hardened. Amusement is a starting point. Respect will come after. Phobos Station hung like an artificial moon in Mars orbit, its central hub sprouting long spokes that ended in various habitation and commercial modules. The festival was being held in the station's largest open space, a spherical chamber at the heart of the hub that could be configured for various gravity settings. As they entered the viewing gallery overlooking the arena, Sam was struck by the diversity of the gathered species. Kelvarians stood tall and gray among the reptilian Draal. The crystalline Zendi floated in protective bubbles. Avian Perlians perched on specially designed stands. Representatives from at least 15 other collective species filled the remaining space. Ambassador Grelvik spotted their group immediately, moving toward them with the careful deliberation characteristic of his species. Junior Liaison Ogilvy, he greeted, all four eyes focusing on Sam. I was surprised to hear Earth would be participating in the physical competitions. We're full members of the collective, Sam replied smoothly. It's time we participated in all aspects of collective culture. Grelvik's gaze shifted to Sarah. And this is your competitor? Security Chief Sarah Rivers, she introduced herself, extending a hand in the human fashion. The Kelvarian regarded her hand cautiously before taking it with the lightest possible touch. Chief Rivers, while your enthusiasm is commendable, I must express concern. The Draal competitions are designed for species with significantly different physiological capabilities than humans. I appreciate your concern, Ambassador, Sarah said with practiced diplomacy, but I've studied the rules and requirements carefully. There's nothing prohibiting human participation. Rules, no, but practical limitations. Grelvuk made the Kelvarian gesture for concern. The medical facilities on this station are not fully equipped for human emergency care. Sam stepped in. We've brought our own medical team, Ambassador. All contingencies have been considered. Before Grelvuk could respond, a deep, rumbling voice cut through their conversation. So this is the human who wishes to challenge our champion. They turned to find a massive Draal approaching, his scaled skin gleaming under the station lights. Like all his species, he had 4 powerful arms and stood on short, sturdy legs that gave him a low center of gravity. Unlike most Draal, who had predominantly green scales, these ones were mottled with patches of red and gold, the mark of a warrior caste. Ambassador Krell, Sam greeted the Draal representative. May I present Security Chief Sarah Rivers. The Draal ambassador studied Sarah with yellow, slitted eyes. You are smaller than I expected. Size isn't everything, Ambassador, Sarah replied, meeting his gaze steadily. Krell made a sound like rocks grinding together, a Draal laugh. Spirit. I like that. But spirit alone will not help you against Krozak. He has defeated challengers from every collective species that dared to face him. Then he hasn't faced a human yet, Sarah said simply. True enough. Krell leaned closer, his voice lowering. Be warned, human. Krozak does not understand the concept of holding back. Once in the arena, he fights to win, regardless of his opponents. Limitations. I wouldn't want it any other way, Sarah assured him. Krell seemed to appreciate her response. The challenge matches begin after the opening ceremonies. Krozak will be expecting you. With a nod to the group, he moved away to greet other dignitaries. That went better than expected, Alex murmured. The Draal respect directness, Sam explained. And they love competition more than almost anything. Grelvuk still looked troubled. I hope you understand what you're doing, Chief Rivers. The collective medical database classifies humans as having approximately 1/5 the strength of an adult Draal. Statistics don't tell the whole story, Ambassador, Sarah said with a confident smile. That's why we're here. The opening ceremonies were a display of Draal cultural heritage, tales of ancient warriors told through a combination of holographic imagery and live performance. Sam found himself genuinely impressed by the artistry, though his attention kept drifting to Sarah, who was watching the Draal movements with analytical intensity. When the challenge matches were announced, the atmosphere in the chamber shifted. The gravity was adjusted to Draal's standard, about 1.2 times Earth normal, and the central area cleared to reveal a circular wrestling ring marked with geometric patterns. Those markings define the boundaries and scoring zones, Alex explained quietly. In Draal wrestling, you score by forcing your opponent into certain positions or out of others. The first few matches were between Draal competitors, impressive displays of strength and technique as the 4 armed wrestlers grappled and threw each other around the ring. The audience reacted with appreciative roars and chittering sounds, depending on their species. Then came the interspecies challenges. A Kelvarian faced a Draal and was defeated after a respectable showing. A particularly brave Perlian lasted less than 30 seconds before yielding. Each time, the victor was Krozak, a mountain of red-scaled muscle whose technique was as impressive as his strength. Final challenge match, announced the Draal referee in the collective's standard language. Champion Krozak against Human Rivers. A murmur ran through the alien crowd. Several species Sam couldn't identify were looking at screens, presumably pulling up information about human physiology. He caught phrases like minimal bone density and no natural armor from nearby translators. Sarah stepped into the ring, wearing a simple wrestling uniform in Earth colors. Beside Krozak, who stood at least 7 feet tall with a build like a walking tank. She looked absurdly small and vulnerable. "This is allowed?" Grelvik asked Sam, genuine concern in his voice. "Your species classification clearly indicates—" "Watch," Sam interrupted, his eyes fixed on the ring. The referee explained the rules to both competitors, though Sam knew Sarah had memorized them days ago. Krozak listened with the bored expression of a champion who had heard it all before. When the referee asked if they understood, both nodded. "Begin," the referee called, stepping back. Krozak moved immediately, all 4 arms extending to grapple Sarah. She ducked under his reach with surprising speed, circling to his side. The Draal turned, faster than his bulk suggested possible, and made another grab. This time he caught her arm, and a collective gasp went up from the human contingent. But instead of trying to pull away, which would have been futile against his strength, Sarah stepped into the grip, using Krozak's own momentum to bring her inside his guard. It was a classic wrestling move, adapted to counter the Draal's longer reach. Krozak's lower arm shot out to grab her waist, but Sarah twisted, breaking the hold on her arm and dropping to a crouch that took her under his center of gravity. As Krozak adjusted, slightly off balance, she exploded upward from her powerful legs, shoulder driving into his midsection. The move shouldn't have worked against an opponent so much heavier, but Sarah's timing was perfect. Krozak stumbled back a step, clearly surprised. A low murmur ran through the alien audience. "Impossible," Grelvik muttered beside Sam. "Technique," Sam replied, unable to keep the pride from his voice. "She's using his weight against him." The next few minutes were a dance of contrasting styles. Krozak relied on power and reach, constantly trying to use his 4 arms to trap Sarah in a grip she couldn't escape. Sarah used speed and leverage, never meeting his strength directly but flowing around it, looking for weaknesses in his balance and position. Sam found himself holding his breath when Krozak finally managed to trap Sarah in a powerful hold, lifting her off the ground with his upper arms while his lower ones prepared to throw her. But before he could complete the move, Sarah twisted violently, targeting pressure points in the Draal anatomy that Alex had identified in their research. Krozak's grip loosened just enough for her to slip through, rolling away to reset. The match continued, each exchange demonstrating human adaptability against Draal power. Sarah was breathing hard, sweat pouring down her face, but her focus never wavered. Krozak, too, was showing signs of exertion, something the alien audience had clearly never expected to see from their champion against a fragile human. Then came the turning point. Krozak, perhaps frustrated by his inability to end the match quickly, launched a more aggressive attack, all 4 arms working in concert to trap Sarah. She waited until the last possible moment, then dropped and pivoted, using a sweep technique to target the Draal's relatively weaker legs. Krozak's momentum carried him forward as his balance shifted unexpectedly. For a crucial second, he was vulnerable and Sarah capitalized, driving up from below to use his own weight to topple him sideways. The sound of a Draal champion hitting the mat echoed through the suddenly silent chamber. Sarah moved instantly, applying a complex hold that immobilized 3 of Krozak's 4 arms while putting pressure on his throat. The referees started counting in the Draal fashion. Krozak struggled, his free arm slapping the mat in frustration, but Sarah adjusted her position with the expertise of a lifetime wrestler, maintaining the hold. When the count reached what Sam knew was the equivalent of a 10 count in Earth wrestling, the referee raised his hand. Victory by immobilization. Human Rivers defeats champion Krozak. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then the Draal section of the audience erupted in stomping and roaring, their way of showing appreciation for an unexpected and worthy challenger. Sarah released the hold and got to her feet, extending a hand to Krozak. The Draal champion stared at her for a long moment before accepting it, allowing her to help him up in a gesture that had significant cultural meaning among his people. "You fought well, human," Krozak's translated voice carried across the arena. I underestimated your species. It was an honor to compete against you, Sarah replied, the formal Draal response that Alex had taught her. As Sarah exited the ring, the alien dignitaries were buzzing with conversation. Sam caught fragments about unexpected flexibility and adaptive technique, and remarkable for their size. Ambassador Grelvik approached them, all four eyes blinking rapidly in what Sam now recognized as the Kelvarian expression of reassessment. That was educational, the ambassador said. Perhaps our understanding of human physiological capabilities requires updating. We'd be happy to provide more comprehensive information, Sam offered, trying not to sound too smug. Humans may not have the raw strength of Draal or the environmental adaptability of Kelvarians, but we have our own unique advantages. Sarah joined them, a towel around her neck and a noticeable limp in her step. Up close, Sam could see bruises already forming on her arms where Krozak had gripped her. Congratulations, Chief Rivers, Grelvik said, studying her injuries with concern. You should visit the medical bay. Those contusions look painful. They are, Sarah admitted with a grimace that transformed into a smile. But worth it. Every wrestler knows. Sometimes you have to hurt to win. A fascinating perspective. Grelvik made a gesture to a nearby aide. I'm having our xenobiological database updated as we speak. Clearly, the Class 3 vulnerability classification doesn't capture the full picture of human capabilities. What about adaptive resilience? Alex suggested. That's really what Sarah demonstrated today. Not that humans aren't physically vulnerable in many ways, but that we've evolved to compensate through technique, endurance, and pain tolerance. An appropriate addition to the classification, Grelvik agreed. And perhaps a lesson for the collective as we prepare for the summit. Different species bring different strengths to our alliance. As they moved toward the exit, surrounded by curious aliens now looking at the humans with new eyes, Ambassador Krell intercepted them. Human Rivers, the Draal rumbled. Krozak requests a rematch at next cycle's festival. He says you are the most worthy opponent he has faced in many years. Sarah winced as she shifted her weight, but her eyes sparkled with the competitive fire that had brought her here. Tell him I accept. And next time, I'll be even better prepared. Krell made the grinding laugh again. I will tell him. He will be pleased. The ambassador turned to Sam. Your species continues to surprise, Diplomat Ogilvy. First contact, then rapid technological adaptation. Now this. Perhaps the collective has been too quick to categorize humans. We're just happy to be participating fully in collective culture, Ambassador, Sam replied diplomatically. As they continued toward the medical bay, Alex leaned in. You realize what just happened, right? The Class 3 vulnerability classification is as good as gone. More importantly, Sam said, watching Sarah as she walked ahead of them, bruised but unbowed, they're finally seeing us as we really are. Not fragile, adaptable. In the medical bay, a nervous Zendi physician hovered near Sarah as she sat on an examination table, scanning her injuries with obvious concern. These contusions would shatter my species' outer layer, the crystalline alien observed through its translator. Yet you seem unconcerned. They'll heal, Sarah shrugged, then winced as the motion pulled at sore muscles. Humans bruise easily, but recover quickly. Fascinating. The Zendi adjusted something on the scanner. Your pain response is active, yet you continue to function normally. Is this common among humans? Pretty common, Sarah confirmed, especially among athletes. We're trained to work through pain. The doctor applied a cooling gel to the worst of the bruises. The collective medical database will need significant revision regarding human physiological resilience. I will submit my observations immediately. Later, as they boarded the transport back to Mars Colony, Sam noticed Sarah was still moving stiffly despite the medical treatment. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. She looked out the viewport at Phobos Station, where news of the human victory was already spreading through collective communications networks. Did you see their faces when I took down Krozak? Not just surprise, respect. She turned to Sam with a tired but satisfied smile. Definitely worth it. 2 days later, at the opening of the Mars Collective Summit, Sam noticed something different as he passed through the security checkpoint. The amber warning that had become so familiar was gone, replaced by a new classification, Human Class Adaptive Resilient Species. Ambassador Grelvik met him just inside, offering a Kelvarian gesture of collegial respect rather than the careful concern he'd shown before. Liaison Ogilvy, welcome. I trust Chief Rivers is recovering well? Very well, thank you, Sam replied. She's already back to training. Remarkable. Grelvik fell into step beside him as they moved toward the main chamber. The recording of her match with Krozak has been shared throughout the collective. There is considerable interest in human adaptive techniques. We're happy to provide cultural exchange opportunities, Sam said, unable to keep a slight smile from his face. Indeed. The Draal have formally requested that Earth send a wrestling team to their homeworld for an exhibition tournament. And several other species have expressed interest in learning more about human physical training methods. As they entered the summit chamber, Sam noticed something else different. The specially reinforced chairs that had been placed for the human delegation were gone, replaced by standard seating. No special accommodations, no patronizing concerns, just equal treatment. Sarah was already there, deep in conversation with a Draal delegate. Despite the fading bruises visible on her arms, she was animated and engaged, demonstrating some technique with her hands that had the alien nodding with interest. She caught Sam's eye across the room and gave him a thumbs up. Ambassador Grelvik followed his gaze. Your Chief Rivers has done more for human collective relations in one day than months of diplomatic discussions. Sometimes, actions truly do speak louder than words. That's a very human expression, Ambassador, Sam noted with surprise. Yes, Grelvik agreed, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence, but this time, Sam recognized it as the Kelvarian equivalent of a smile. I believe we have much to learn from each other, now that we see you clearly. As the summit officially opened, with Earth taking its place as a fully respected member of the Galactic Collective, Sam thought about the journey that had brought them here. From being classified as fragile to demonstrating adaptive resilience, it wasn't about proving human superiority, but about showing the true nature of humanity. Not unbreakable, but uniquely equipped to bend without breaking, to find strength in flexibility, and to rise to challenges through intelligence and determination. The security scanner had been wrong. Humans weren't fragile at all, they were resilient in ways the collective was only beginning to understand. Sarah caught his eye again from across the chamber and mouthed silently, "Worth every bruise." Sam nodded in agreement. Sometimes you had to wrestle the beast to change perceptions. And sometimes, despite the pain and the overwhelming odds, you could walk away smiling, having shown the universe exactly what humans were made of.